All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times. Follow my instructions. We're going to keep this clean. Touch gloves now as you wish.
Leon Edwards once again shocked the world in his last fight. He was able to defeat Kamaru Usman again, thereby protecting the belt. Now everything has fallen into place. Edwards is a true welterweight king, and since he is a champion, many options open up for super fights, and one of them is a fight with Islam Makhachev. Hello fighters, the MMA Predictions channel is with you. In this video, I will give a prediction for one of the top fights between Leon Edwards and Islam Makhachev. But before starting this video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like it so that as many fans as possible can see this release. Leon Edwards wears Rokia's nickname for a reason. No one believed in him. The last person who could be presented as a champion was he. But Edwards did the impossible. At first, he completely losing the fight. In the last minute of the 5th round, he cuts down Kamaru with a tough high kick and becomes a full-fledged champion. But most fans do not recognize him as a champion and say that this is an accidental hit. Then the UFC organized a rematch on Leon's Mole in the UK, where he destroyed Usman in front of thousands of people in each of the rounds allotted to him, and thus defended his belt of 77 kilograms. Now his hype is at the top, as just recently he fought with Nate, whom he almost lost at the end of the 5th round. And now he is the champion with one title defense. After defending his belt, Edwards faced various challenges, and the loudest of them were Colby and Islam. But as you understand from the title of the video, I am going to analyze the fight with Islam Makhachev. The Dagestani has a similar path. Also at the beginning, almost none of the tops wanted to fight him, and because of this his popularity suffered. He was not a famous fighter, but Islam was able to get out of this ass in a similar style as Leon now. And in the end, they are both champions and have big names, so why not bring them together in the octagon to determine the best? Moreover, Islam has long wanted to conquer the category, but there was one problem. The champion was Usman, with whom he has a good relationship, and now the champion of 77 kilograms has changed. So why not try to write his name in history and declare himself as another double champion? Lately, it is more and more difficult to master the second belt, and Makhachev could interrupt this by getting a welterweight belt. But let's smoothly move on to the analysis of skills. Who has the best percussion technique? Struggle. Who is cooler in MMA? I think every fan has similar questions that we will analyze right now. Percussive style. Well, the first one we'll start with is Leon Edwards. Rocky has been surprising me a lot lately in this aspect of the fight. Then he loses the fight in the stand to the basic wrestler and does not try to do anything. Then he sharply punches a measured high kick, which cuts down on a deaf roller coaster. In his last fight, Edwards realized that he was not doing a Dachshund to Kamaru and began to skillfully shoot him at a distance with his kicks. Especially I noticed how Edwards punches low. Given how thin the Cameroonian's legs are, it's a great idea to handle his opponent's kicks. In the second fight against Usman, such actions were not noticed, and because of this he could have a similar fight. But when the game plan was drawn up correctly, the fight went according to a completely different scenario. Edwards in the stance is now more dangerous than ever, since in addition to the technique, he also has the strength that he demonstrated on the same battlefield with Kamaru. Now let's move on to Islam, which progresses in this direction every day. No one expected that Makhachev would compete so easily with Charles in the stand, and he was even able to knock him down. And in addition to Oliveira, there are many opponents and evidence that Islam is progressing in the stand. For example, the same fight with Thiago Moises, in which you could see honed kicks, and in the same fight against Alex, Islam showed its true level of boxing, and I want to tell you it is worthy. No one has ever caused such trouble as Islam before, although there was still Max, but that's a completely different story. In general, Islam has recently grown a lot in this aspect aspect of the battle and continues to amaze us. What can I say about the favorite? I still believe more in Edwards, who competed with much more dangerous drummers and easily interrupted them, and Islam will translate at the first opportunity. Playing from below. Now let's move on to wrestling skills, and we will start with the representative of Dagestan. This is where Islam is really dangerous. If Makhachev presses you to the cage, then we can say that you lost the round 100%, since getting out of such a grip is not an easy task. Islam has shown throughout his career that it doesn't matter what level of fighter you are, he will translate you and force you to surrender or destroy you with his ground and pound. So far, no one can compete with Islam, and as I think, no one will be able to do it in the near future since Makhachev trains with such fighters. Islam's rivals did not even stand close to them. I think the Nurmagomedovs and the athletes training in their composition will never lose to anyone in the fight. They are the new Gracie clan. Maybe of course this is a loud siltation, but so far everything looks like this. It is not easy to defeat Nurmagomedov's team. Now let's move on to Leon's wrestling base, and in the last fight he showed fierce progress in defense, given how the second fight between Usman and Leon went, when the latter missed every second takedown. This time he worked much better. Well, first of all, he did not allow himself to be pressed against the cage, since he knows perfectly well that Usman translates only when you are pressed with your back to the net. Also, when he did not find himself in the best position, he did not allow the Nigerian to fully wrap his arms around his waist. Thus, Usman again failed to grip Edwards tightly. Leon has grown a lot, and I don't see any point in denying it, since everything is clearly shown. What can be said in the end to the clear favorites, as I think Islam will be. Yet no matter how cool the defense Leon has, Islam will find a way to translate. Cardio and spirit. What can be said about the endurance of Edwards? I can confidently say it deserves respect. He has repeatedly shown by example that he can easily pass all 5 rounds. And no matter what the pace, he is ready to take the fight in any way and defend to the end. Now let's move on to Islam, who went through all 25 minutes for the first time in the last fight. And I will not say that he showed the top version, because at the end, let's be honest, he was a little tired and was not as fresh as at the beginning of the fight. And so I will give this aspect to the more experienced Leon Edwards. As for the spirit, here I will already give preference to Islam, since Leon is not quite emotionally stable and Makhachev is always with one attitude: to destroy. Forecast. I think that Islam Makhachev will win this fight by decision of the judges. He will translate and control the Briton from the very beginning, and so on until the end of the fight. It is unlikely that Edwards will be able to resist the struggle of Islam. The future of fighters. After the victory, Islam will have a couple of defenses in the welterweight, and then I think he will think about retiring, since everything he needed to achieve. As for Leon, he will take the belt again, but only after Islam vacates the title.